presentation to claim the prize. We encourage everybody to participate throughout the presentation. You will also have the opportunity to win a prize. I would also like to encourage you to turn on your cameras and turn off your microphones for the presentation to feel more engaging. The success of the workshop, it's equals to the participation of our audience. Our keynote speaker for today is Ms. Soledad Tanner. Ms. Tanner is an outstanding international award-winning global financial business consultant with more than 30 years of experience. She is also the founder and the CEO of STC Consulting, which is a firm that helps to improve the profits and the productivity of a business. In addition, Ms. Tanner has a bachelor's degree in business administration and an FSS in management, also a master's in international business from UST. She has also received several awards, such as the Trailblazer of the Year in 2020, as well as the Emergent Entrepreneur in 2019, just to name a few. She has also been known as an English and Spanish financial speaker at several events. With all that said, I would like to bring your attention to Ms. Soledad Tanner and give her a warm Palomino welcome, everybody. Thank you very much, Ms. Tanner.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so excited to speak to all of you today. And thank you for that kind introduction. And we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we are on our way to talk about how you can build credit while you're in college. This is a very important topic for all of us. And while you're studying, you can be preparing for your present and your future. So this presentation has been prepared for you. So feel free to, as I'm speaking, write down your questions, so you can put it in the chat. And at the end of the presentation, I will be more than happy to answer all your questions. I am the founder and CEO of STC Consulting, a financial and management consulting firm. And our services are CFO on demand, controller on demand, financial speaking, financial management, financial coaching and training, and business consulting. So we're going to start with the top 10 questions that I get on this topic a lot of the time that I speak to people. So what is credit? What is interest rate? And how many different types of interest rates? Who reports your credit information? What information is included in the credit report? What are your rights under the FCRA? And we will talk about that in a little bit. Can your credit report be corrected if you find a mistake? How do you do that? How will your credit score impact your future? This is key. You can, from now, start building something that will help you in the future. What is a FICO score? What does a FICO score mean to you and to the lenders? How is a FICO score calculated? And also at the end, tips to start and strategies to start building your credit while in college. So let's start. So let's start with what is credit and what are interest rates? Two basic concepts that we have to master right now. So credit is the money that the bank gives you as an individual with the understanding that you have to pay that back, not only the amount that they gave you, but also interest. So if you have a loan for 100 and you probably will have to pay, let's say 105, because it's the capital plus the interest. So that's credit. And the credit also is known as the person's history of how well or not so well you pay or repay your loans. So things like how many loans and credit cards you have and how much money you have borrowed, and if you have maximized your credit cards or not, where payments were on time. This is a key question. And were payments made in accordance with the terms and conditions of the credit card. So let's say by the due date, did you pay by the due date, and did you pay the number of payments that you were supposed to do? So I want to talk about interest rates for a moment. There are there are many types of interest rates, but for today's presentation, I'm going to talk about two. Number one, fixed rate interest is the interest rate that stays exactly the same in the whole life of the loan. For example, if you buy a house, let's say your interest rate is 3.5%, and you finance your house at 15 years, then for the 15 years, you will have, for the 15 years, your interest rate will always at 3.5%. You also have variable rates. For example, these are the ones that fluctuate. So the 1 month can be higher, another year can be lower. And that is a little more risky than fixed ones because you will have to pay more or less depending on the interest rates, okay? So how do interest rates work with credit cards? Credit cards are a big question, especially as you're going to college, through college, especially as you're receiving promotions from banks. We need to make sure we're clear on how the interest rate is calculated for the credit cards and what is the money that you're going to have to pay back. So credit card interest is what you are charged when you don't pay your credit card bill in full every month. So let's say you go and buy $100 of groceries and you pay, you buy on Monday and you pay on Friday, then there's no interest rate that you have to pay because you have paid prior to the due date. But if you go to buy the same groceries on Monday and then you pay 45 days later, then you will have to pay interest rate for the time that somebody gave you money to pay for that. So it's important to think like, and how do you calculate the daily rate of the credit card? So it works like this. Your daily rate is calculated by dividing your annual percentage rate by 365 days of the year, and then multiplying that by your current balance. So that is the amount that gets added to the bill. So let's do an example. Let's exercise here. So in this example, let's say your credit card is 19.99%, like almost 20% interest rate, and you have a balance of $1,000 in your credit card. So how do you know how much you have to pay for interest? So first, you have to find your daily interest charge. You take the 19.99, you divide that by 365 days in the year, that give you a daily rate of 0.055 interest rate per day. Then you have to figure out how much you have to pay, multiply that by the total amount that you owe. So let's say in this case, in the example, $1,000, which means that you have to pay 55 cents daily. And then if you want to figure out how much you are going to have to be paying in a month, you take that 55 cents, you multiply it by 30 days, which is a month, and then you have it $16.50 of interest only that you have to pay in 1 month for having borrowed that $1,000. So this presentation will be available for you after. So if you want to go over, or maybe if you want to take this, you can take a picture of this. This is how, if you want to know how much money you have to pay for having somebody else's money being used by you. All of you received an email earlier today with a spreadsheet, and I prepared this for you because one of the exercises that I want you to do when you finish this call or this week, or when you have the time, is I want you to go back. And if you already have credit card debt, if you already have 2 or 3 credit cards, I want you to write it down because there's some magic that happens when you write down things. So this is an example only, and the spreadsheet I prepared for you has more space so you can write more. So In this case, this individual has 2 credit cards. These obviously are not real numbers, but as an example, it has a Visa. This person, let's call it Mary, has a Visa and a MasterCard. So I want the last 4 digits of the credit card so I can identify if I have more 2, 3, 4, so I can remember which one they are. So in this case, Visa ends on 1, 2, 3, 4. The interest rate of this credit card is 19.99%. Then the balance, you go back to your statement or you look at it in your phone and you see that the balance of this credit card is 1,250. The credit limit, so the credit they are giving you is 2,000, so you still have $750 available to be used or to do other purchases. The credit card gives you a minimum payment. This is important to know that because they tell you that's a minimum payment, that's not that's not all you have to pay a month. If you can pay all of it, then that's even, that's ideal, right? But in this case, they are telling you that the minimum payment is $75, but you that month can only pay $100. And then the due date, so by which day you have to pay this credit card. This is very important because remember, you're going to be evaluated or on-time payments of your balances. And in my case, and I always recommend you have these in auto pay, which means that you link your credit card to your business, to your personal bank account, and you set it up so at least the minimum payment is paid automatically. That way you avoid late fees of $35, $45, even $55, because sometimes you're busy and you forget that yesterday was the due date of the credit card and you didn't pay it. So another tip here for you is to put your all your credit cards auto paid, so at least the very minimum payment is paid, right? And in this case, you see in the right side of the screen, I have something called the payment order. I do that because I want to know which credit card I should pay first if I have more money to pay it. Or if I don't have all the money to pay all that I have purchased this month. Let's say this month I bought furniture for the house and I cannot pay all of it at the same time. So I determined that the Visa that you see here is paid first because it has a higher interest rate of $19.99. And second, the MasterCard because it has an interest rate of $14.99. I hope that helps. So as a homework to you, go back to your records, write down your numbers, have it in front of you, and decide which one you should be paying first, second, and third. So who reports the credit information? The banks, financial institutions, credit cards, everyone that gives you money report your behavior to the 3 credit report agencies. We have 3 American, that it's for all states, credit agencies. They're called Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And each one of them collect information about your payments and your behavior of payment every month. So that's what happens. Sometimes you check the 3 of them and they have different data or different results. It's because they're independent, and that is because we want to make sure it's a fair calculation of your score. So all of these reports are added into what is called a credit report. And so if you have never seen one, what is included in these credit reports? Number 1, you have your name, your actual name, and any prior names. Let's say you were married before, you changed your name, you have different hyphenated, or you changed, you marry, or you change of status. So all your names will be listed there. Also, your current address and prior addresses. So if you check if that, if you have lived in 5 different houses, all of your addresses will be listed. And soon we will be talking what happens if you find mistakes. And let's say you find an address that you have never lived. So how to correct that. You will also see here the social security number, and for protection, it's just the last 4 digits. Your current debt and credit card. So if we take the example that we saw a few minutes ago, that person credit report, we have the Visa and the MasterCard, and we'll have what is the balance that is owed to each financial institution. The payment history, this is important. Remember earlier I said it's important the due date, because if you miss the payment for 1 day, you're either earlier or late, period. There's nothing, sometimes certain institutions, if you call them and said, you know what, I couldn't pay the credit card yesterday because I was at the funeral, and you have never called before, and it's true, and they will allow you, they will give you 1 chance, sometimes even 2 chances per year. But if this is something that is happening every month, it's obviously not an accident, it's a behavior. And that's why we need to improve our behaviors to pay on time. And every time you pay late, then that is registered in your, by the credit agencies, and is shown in your credit report. And any public records, if you have filed for bankruptcy before, then that will be, or you have been sued, that will be in your credit report for a long, long time. So I suggest you check it and make sure it's accurate. And also the name of the company that have given you money. Let's say you're trying to buy a car, and you have gone to a GMC or a Ford, or Mazda, or wherever, and they have put your credit a hard pull, then you will see the name of the institutions that have put your credit. So it's important that you know what are your rights. So under the FCRA stands for the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Under that government, a federal act, you have the right to check and review your credit to verify that the information is accurate. So once a year, and error-free, because all your decisions about money are being based on at least a part of the decision is being based on your credit score. So you want to make sure it's accurate, and especially now with all the identity theft and all the things that are happening, it's important that you check and make sure only purchases that are there are only the ones made by you. So you have the right to review your report from each of these 3 agencies without charge. This is really important. So you don't have to pay for that, but once a year, you get a free report. So you can go to www.annualcreditreports.com, and you log in, fill the information, and you can get your complimentary credit report so you can review it. And also keep in mind that other people might review your credit report. So, sometimes potential employers check that. Landlords, if they want to lease an apartment to you, and of insurance, also your credit score is part of your insurance valuation, right? Your risk. So write that down, annualcreditreport.com. All of you should just pull it and see what you have. It's complimentary. So once you get it, let's say you find a mistake. Let's say your address is wrong, or your name is incorrectly spelled, or you have never had a card from, I don't know, from Target, let's just say. So you want to correct it. So you can dispute the credit report errors. All the 3 main bureaus of Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, the ones we spoke earlier, they have an online dispute process. So you can do it online. You don't have to go anywhere. Now, what are the steps you need to take to dispute a credit. Remember, even though it's paperwork, if it's important in the future, if you want to buy a house, if you want to buy a car, the loan that you're going to get, it's going to be based on your score. And if your score is based on incorrect information, then you're going to be paying more money. So it's worth it to correct your credit report. So let's go to the steps. Number one, of course, gather all the documentation about the error. Let's just say you have a Target account and it's reported there that you owe $25,000. You know that that's not you. You know that you haven't spent $25,000. So you gather the data, you get all the statements, and that's your proof that you have paid on time and that you haven't done any purchase like that. Second, you need to send a letter to the credit bureau that created the report, or you can do online. You can do the explain the what the error is and what you're requesting. You also have to determine if you have to contact the data provider. In this case, in this example, do you need to contact Target? Maybe Target is reporting this incorrectly and they need to fix it at the origin. Number four, it takes approximately 45 days for them to do an investigation and give you a response. So it's important that you keep it in your calendar somehow, somewhere, that you remember that if you don't hear from them in 45 days, then you should contact them. And then review the results of the investigation. You're going to get a letter or an email saying we have researched this and we have found that it is in fact you don't owe, let's say in the example, $25,000. Therefore, we're going to correct it. Great. Then you go back and then you have to review that the report is correctly updated, showing that you don't owe that. I have statistics here that around 25% of the consumers in the US have found errors in the credit scores in one of the credit reports. An error in your credit report could lower your credit scores in general and impact the ability to get a loan, a new credit card, or even get higher interest rates when you apply for a loan. So it's important to follow through. And of course, check the updates on your report. So you check back and make sure it's all good in the report. Okay. So why are we talking about this? Why are we even spending this hour sharing this information with you? Because the credit is important for your present and it's important to your future. Why is that? Affects your ability to get a job. Let's say you want to get a job as an accountant or something that they CPA, something that the company is required to make sure that you are responsible. If your credit score is really low and the company pulls it, they're gonna give an idea that you are not responsible. Therefore, you may not get the job that you really want. When you're gonna rent an apartment or buy a condo or buy a house, they for sure will pull your credit because past behavior is the best forecast of your future paying habits. So they want to make sure that you will be paying. Third, it's pulled when you open new utility accounts, when you're gonna go, let's say you buy your condo or your townhome, whatever you buy, and now you need water, gas, electricity, all of those things, they're gonna pull your credit. And if you don't have good credit, they may ask you for a deposit because they are not sure that you're gonna be paying the bills on time. And also, so you don't want to pay deposit if you can avoid it because you're already spending money buying the house or renting the house. So keep your credit score clean and in order. And obviously, the most important one is that the higher your credit score, the lower the risk. Therefore, the lower the interest rate. And sometimes even the better your rate, the longer that you can apply for loans For example, when you're buying a car, sometimes dealerships are already giving you 5 years to pay for a car. If you wish to apply for that, it's your option, right? So it's important that you keep a good, healthy, and in order credit habit, okay? And let's talk about the FICO score. People talk about the FICO score and the FICO. What is the FICO score? So first, FICO was created by the Fair Isaac Corporation. That's where the name comes from, FICO. So just you know. Second, the FICO score is a number that goes between 300 and 850. So that's the range. And really what it tells the person who is reading that is your credit worthiness, which means your ability to repay the loan. And the higher the number, the better. The higher the number, the lower the risk for you not to pay based on past behavior. This number is calculated based on the information that come from the people that gave you the credit cards to the credit reports, then gets calculated, and then you get your FICO score. So if we use again the example of Target, when Target or Macy's or Walmart or whoever, right, submits the information to the credit score registers that, and your FICO score is calculated. More than 90% of the top lenders in the country use the FICO score to determine and making a business decision if they want to give you a loan, what's the term, which is the time, and what is the interest rate. So it's critical if you want to start a business, if you want to buy a house, if you want to buy a car, the better your score, the less you will pay, and the better interest rates that you're going to get. So, and as I said, it affects how much you can borrow. Sometimes also the amount is affected because nobody wants to give money that they think they may not get it back because it feels that the person is not responsible enough to repay, right? So people talk about what is good, bad, or terrible. So here is a little table for you. Anything less than 580 is considered poor. So it's below the average. The average is around 705. And it demonstrates that the person has a poor paying habit and is a risky borrower. So you certainly don't want to be here. Then 580 to 669 is fair. 670 to 739, it's good. 740 to 799 is very good. And more than 800 is exceptional. Demonstrate to lenders that you are an exceptional borrower and the risk of you not paying back a loan is so small that you are the type of clients that everybody wants to give money to. So now I want to talk about how is a FICO score calculated? And this, it's important for you to understand that number, in addition to all the information that goes into the credit bureau, reported by Target, Walmart, Macy's, etc. When the data gets here, how that number, let's say you have 750, let's just say for a moment, how is that number, how do they get to 750? So they divide your behavior in 5 parts or 5 elements. Element number 1 is 35% of the weight is your payment history, which means is how well you have paid over the time, over and over and over again, every month, your electricity, your phone, your gas, have you paid it well? So 35% of the whole 100% of your score is based on your payment history. 30% of it is based on the amount you owe. 10% on new credit acquired. We will go in detail in the next slide. 15% the length of the credit history, and 10% the credit mix. So let's talk about that. So as I said, 35% is the payment history. So how well you have paid your bills in the past? Do you pay them on time? Do you pay them all the time on time? Or sometimes yes, and sometimes no. Remember, I gave you the tip here that I would like you to put the auto pay on your credit card. So at least you know that the minimum payment goes into the credit card, and that way that shows as paid on time, and that's affecting the 35% of the score. The second part is the 35% is the amount of credit that you're using. So how much, if you add all your credit cards, so you have 5,000 here, 3,000 there, 50,000 here. So how much in total you have borrowed in the total of your credit cards and loans and line of credit? That is, the weight of that is 30% of your score, okay? Then the other three elements, remember we said there were 5, is the length of credit history. This is important. You are starting to develop your credit, so you want to have maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But as you grow, with, you will have then 7, 10 years. And the longer the good behavior, the lower the risk for them not to receive their money, and the lower the probability that you don't pay, that you change along the time. Because if you are organized and pay on time last year, you're going to be organized and will pay on time this year and the future year. That's a behavior, right? 10% of the score is the amount of new credit. So if suddenly you haven't requested credit in a year, and in a week you go to 5 different places and start asking credit, they may send a signal that something is happening. So try to ask for credit when you need it. Don't ask for all of it at the time, and measure the movement when it's the right time to ask. And finally, the last 10% is the credit mix. So that makes how much you have for loans, retail stores, let's say Target, Walmart, also gas cards, Valero, etc. So they check the mix of your credit cards. So we're going to end up with what are the key elements of strategies I'm going to give you, that you can write this down, how you can start building credit right now where you are in college. So number 1, you need to get a student credit card if you can. Before I said anything, it's important that any credit card that you get, you know that you can pay it. That means either because you have some savings or because you have a job. Do not get into debt if you haven't figured out where the money is going to come from to pay it. So I'm going to give this tip, assuming that you will have money to pay. So get a student credit card. That will be number 1. Maybe become an authorized user on someone else's credit card. Maybe you have an older brother, sister, mother, father, cousin, a spouse that allows you to be there. Number 3, start making payments on your student loans as soon as you have to make payments on them. And obviously while you're in college, you don't, but when it's time, you can start making the payments. See if the place that you're renting from can report your behavior to the credit report. Some big organizations, if you are renting in a place that is a big company like Candem or things like that, they do report automatically. If you are renting from a person, more likely they are not reporting, but you can ask them if they can. So the fact that you're paying on time, that will help you with building your credit score. Always pay on time. I have repeated over and over, even if it's the minimum, but pay on time. Practice good credit habits. If you don't have it, if you don't need it, Don't just forget about it and don't pay it. Please pay it. It's super important. Hold on 1 second. That you, even if you lose a job, you find another one, pay the minimum and continue, right? And monitor your credit score when time is correct, once a year for free, make sure it's right. So some tips here for you: spend wiser, think twice before spending, and make sure you really need it. So we have many things that we would like to have, and it would be nice to have, we would love to have, but do you really need it? And if you really need it, buy it, but make sure you know how to pay it, because having a good control spending habit, it guarantees you that in the future, when you go back and want to buy a house, a car, all other things for you and your family, you can enjoy the best deals and the best interest rates. And I want to close this presentation, it's 2:46, with a phrase from Warren Buffett: if you buy things you don't need, soon you will have to sell things you do need to pay for that. So remember that financial knowledge gives you freedom. So please know your numbers, okay? And before I finish, don't forget that in September the 30th, I will be here again, right, in another class. It will be called 10 Steps to Start a Business. So please register if you would like, if you're interested to start a business now. That will be the great class for you. And I finalize with my social media. If you want to follow me, you can go there, and my contact information is right there. So thank you so much for your time. And now we're going to open the floor for questions. Thank you.
Ma'am,
Yes.
can you send the attendance link again on the chat,
The attendance list.
please? Like, to be able to sign in. You're in mute, ma'am.
Okay. You want me to send the link so people can log in again?
Yeah, for the attendance.
Okay, 1 moment. Okay.
Okay. Hello, Ms. Tanner. I do have a question at the moment. You said that you always recommend AutoPay so we can get the minimal, the minimal paid already. What would be a good strategy? Would it be a good strategy to pay in full as quickly as possible, or do we just leave in AutoPay, or can AutoPay pay in full?
Yes, the best strategy with your credit is pay everything that you have consumed during the month, to pay it when the credit card statement comes. So by the due date, then you don't pay any interest at all. Okay? But there are circumstances when you have to buy things that you cannot pay in 1 month, and we can go in details. Let's say an emergency. Let's say somebody in the family needs to have a surgery, and you need to have a surgery, right? And you put it in your credit card. So then you pay the maximum that you can. But if that particular month is not that good and you can only pay the minimum, then pay the minimum. But the more you pay, the faster you pay, the less interest rates you are going to pay overall.
I also had another question. As you were talking about like things that make up your fiscal score, you also said the amount of credit card accounts you have.
Mhm.
So how many, like, in your professional opinion, what would be a good amount? How many accounts would an average person need? One, two, or I could be wrong, I don't know.
Yes. So I before I used to have credit cards for the stores, like specifically, let's say Best Buy account and Macy's account and Target account, until I completed the form that I sent for everyone to fill. And I realized that those accounts were like 24.99 interest rate, 19.99 interest rate, and my own credit card was, like 8%. So then when you realize, oh, how comfortable you get points here and there, you can use them, but you have to make sure that you don't pay those high interest rates that they are charging in those accounts. So at the end of the day, I am down to really like one credit card, and that way I can control. I have one payment and I can manage my debt. I know when I need to stop. I know that there's no more for this month, but I have left the others open. I haven't closed them. So if you start paying your credit card debt, don't and you're down to zero, don't close the account, because if you do, what you're doing is reducing the amount of credit that you can use, and that reduces your utilization ratio. So just pay it, put it in the freezer and forget about it. But you have a better, if somebody has already given you credit, you already will have a really good credit score.
It won't, credit cards won't be affected if you stopped using them because, well, what do you have a credit card for if you're not going to use it, or is it doesn't matter?
No. If you have a credit card, let's say I have a Best Buy credit card, okay? And I go and I check the credit card, the interest rate, and this is fake, right? Let's say is $18.99. And then I go to my bank credit card, Wells Fargo, whatever, Chase, and I look at the interest rate and I see that is $9.99. It's better for me to charge it to Chase if I know that I'm not gonna, it's gonna take me two months to pay, I don't know, the new computer that I bought, because I'm gonna be charged the lower interest rate for 2 months. I'm saving money. If I put it in Best Buy, I will be charged 20%, right? And maybe I leave it open because remember, let's say Best Buy gave me $1,000 of credit, and then I have my own credit card that has 5,000. So the total of the two is 6,000, right? And if you have only used 500, then in groceries, then that means that you have only used 10% of your eligible credit, and you have 90% available to be used. And that is a good thing in your credit score. And that's why don't close it. If they charge you a fee, then close it. But if they don't charge you a fee, leave it open.
I've also heard, I know not all credit cards do this, but I have heard of some that they increase your credit. Like I myself just got a student card. I have $1,000 in credit as well. But I've heard that if you have good credit, it can increase to, I don't know, 25,000 in credits. That's just the number that I'm making up. But your credit can increase in the same card as well. I'm not just stuck in $1,000.
Correct. So when you have good credit, and remember, we have gone through how you can build good credit, and with the years and the habit and the payments on time, now your credit is around let's say 700, right? And now the credit card companies are checking. And if your credit is improving and improving and improving, then they're going to want to give you more credit, because then they know that you are good, the customer that they want to have and they want you to consume, because they for sure they're going to pay. And there's a chance that they make money through you to the interest rates. So you are a lower risk client. Make sense?
I understand.
Ma'am, I have a question as well.
Yes.
Every time we apply for a credit card and we get rejected, does that affect our credit score or
Yes.
future credit score?
Yes. So when you apply, let's say you go to a big store and you want to apply for, I don't know, Macy's, and they reject you. You need to read the reason for rejection. And I made that mistake many years ago because I wasn't born here. I came here and nobody explained me how the credit system work. So when I came here, I went straight and applied. At that time, it was Foley's, and I applied for that card, and I got rejected because it was 2 weeks after I had arrived. I had zero. I had nothing. That's why I know this topic very well, because really nobody told me how to build it. So I went there. They rejected me. Obviously, I was hurt. And I didn't read the letter. And the letter said that they were rejecting me because I didn't have sufficient credit length. Of course, I had nothing. And that what they want to see is a payment habit. So if you get rejected, stay there, look why they're rejecting you, and then work on that, improve that, and then apply it after like a year or so for that. So this is a journey that takes time. You don't rush to get credit in 1 year to all the credit cards. First, it's important that you generate revenue, that the little that you have, if you have one, pay that on time, and that will be the door for you to get to others.
I have a question. So if you start with your credit, let's say, for example, from Capital One, and the interest rate is 24.99, will that eventually come down within time, or you're going to be stuck at 24.99 forever?
You can call them. You can call them. And I used to call everyone and say, hey, I've already paid really great for a year, and I would get it that they will be 19. Oh, let me check your credit, and then they will decrease it. No, you are not stuck, but more likely they can go up. Sometimes they give you promotions that go down, but they don't volunteer the lower interest rate because that's how they make money. So that's why it's so important when you complete the template that I gave you. I want you to go to the last page of your statements and look for that amount, what percentage rate they're charging you.
Ms. Tanner, I have a question. Can my credit card be used internationally? Or
Yes, but if you go international, I suggest you call the bank. Some banks already have that you can do it over the phone, and you tell them when you're going to be and where. That way they don't stop your purchase. Let's say you go to Cancun and you have never been in Mexico, let's just say. And then suddenly there is a hotel charge in Mexico. Your credit card has a fraud system that tracks your behavior. And if you have never done that or been there, they could think it's a stolen card and there is fraudulent activity, and they could stop it. So if you call them and sometimes the fund allows you to put the trip days, then you're protected.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Okay, since I was hearing and I was pretty impressed actually, because I didn't know many things about credit cards. So
Good.
my question is, what bank would you recommend to open up a credit card? I don't have a credit card, but I would like to start my credit soon.
Yeah, remember, I'm in Houston and you're in Laredo, so I am not quite sure where the banks that are there, but check around. These days, everything is in the internet. Check around if there's a student or there's a promotion or a check for a bank that has a checking account with no fees. Check something to make sure they're not charging $10 or $15 a month, and see if go and maybe a bank that if you make deposits that is close to your house. But I will look for the fees. I will look for for the fees are low. I personally bank with Chase because I love the technology that they have, and they're very good internationally, and my family's overseas, so when I go it works really well, but that's a personal preference.
Ms. Tanner, there's a question on the chat box. How do you build your credit when you get denied credit? Do you try another credit card?
No. Okay, that I will tell you the secret. Like I did when I came here and I was 26 and I had zero credit, I had zero history. What you do is you go to the bank and you ask them that you want a secure credit card. So what is that? A secure credit card is something that you do this. You go and say, okay, I'm going to give you this lady at the bank $300 or $500. They keep that money in a CD and they give you a credit card with a credit of $500. That way they don't lose anything because they have $500 from you, right? And so I started years ago with a CD of $300, and my first credit card had $300 credit limit. And I thought, oh my God, this is not enough. So what I will do, and maybe you laugh now, but I will go to the grocery store, buy, let's say $100 in groceries, wait 3 days, go and pay $100, and then I will have again the $300 credit limit, and then again and again and again and again. And after, I think I waited like 9 months, and then I went to the bank and said, okay, deal with you. Give me half back, and then you keep the other half. So they gave me $150 back, and I kept the same 300. Then I went back like 6 months later, and they gave me all my money back. And now I had no longer a secure credit card, and little by little, I stayed with the same bank. They were increasing my credit to 500, 1,000, and it's so on and so forth.
There was another question in the chat box. It said, so your priority should be the higher the interest rate, or?
Say that again?
The interest rate should that be your priority, or
the
no?
Interest rate should be a top priority, because the higher the interest rate, the higher the interest that you're paying in money. So if you have an interest rate of 20, you will be paying more to the bank than if your interest rate is 10%. So make sure that you are getting the right interest rate, and that always try to get the lowest that you can.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Go ahead.
What is a recommendable interest rate? Like around what number?
So that's difficult to answer because it depends of each one of your credit histories, your income, your age, blah, 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 etc. But credit cards with 9, 10, 12% are good for people with good credit. And people with difficult credit are things around, or no credit, like I had no credit many years ago. It was between 19 and 25%. And that's how, think of a credit card as a product that the bank sells. So the higher the price, the more money they're making, and the more money they're taking from you.
Ma'am, there's another question. Does interest rate matter if you are not going to be carrying a balance?
Yeah. Well, if you pay on time every month forever, interest rate is irrelevant because it doesn't matter, right? The problem with that answer is that life gets in the way. And 1 month you may be busy, you forget, you don't pay, you had something extra, and then you will be charged the higher rate. So if your interest rate is high, I suggest you figure out why it's high. And maybe they gave you that because they gave it 2 years ago and you are in much better conditions right now. Maybe I'll go to another one, stop using that, put it back to zero, put it in the freezer or in your room, and just use another one with a lower interest rate.
One more question. What is an APR?
APR stands for annual percentage rate. So it's the interest rate charged in a per year basis. So when somebody says, I'm charging you 20% APR, it's 20% per year.
Do
Hello. There's a question in the chat, and they're asking if cell phone plans, Netflix plans, and Hulu plans are, I'm sorry, can impact your credit.
Sarah, repeat that one time, please.
Yes. Do telephone plans on Netflix plans, Amazon, Disney Plus impact your credit?
Yeah,
Or
telephone
can impact your credit?
like AT&T, like Comcast, like things like that. If you don't pay, yes, they report. And how do you know that? Because now that you're gonna go and get your report from the link I gave you, you will see that your AT&T is right there. So if you don't pay them, they will report you. Every one of the people that give you credit are linked to the credit report and will report you. Now, the other ones like Netflix and things like that, those are subscriptions. And the moment your credit card payment doesn't go through, your subscription ends. So they don't report you because they get their money from the credit card.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
This is kind of more about like collections, right? If something went into collections, let's say like a medical bill, and when I called, they gave me like the options. It was either to pay it in full, to pay it in payments, or to do like a payment of like it was like 3/4 or half of it, and you get it out of the way. What would be the best option, and how does that collection affect your credit? And
Okay.
like, will it stay forever in there? Will it eventually be removed, or?
7 years, all the information stays in the credit report for 7 years. So good, bad, or terrible, it stays there forever. Okay, so let's talk about medical bills. So medical bills, if you are sick and you need to take care of yourself, you need to take care of yourself, period. Life, it's more important than anything else, and we'll figure out the rest later. If you are offered a settlement, you need to ask the billing company or the collection company, how will that be reported to the credit? Let's say you had an MRI, let's just say, and it was, I don't know, let's say it's $1,000 and your insurance paid $300 and you have to pay $700. And they called you and they said, well, I have to pay $700. You said, you know what, all I can pay right now is $350. And they say, okay, you need to get in writing from them that they will report that bill as to pay on time and fully. Because if you don't, they will report that it was paid not on time and it was a deal, and that would be a negative. But your health goes first. Always remember that. So
okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Ma'am, there was another question on the chat box. Would it be better to look to make sure we have no annual fees or per month service fees?
Ask me again the question. It will be better to look.
So would it be better to look to make sure we have no annual fees or per month service fees?
Are you talking about bank accounts?
I don't know what he's talking about, but he put it down on the chat box.
Yeah, Alexander, I think I'm reading it. Alexander, I'm not sure what you meant. I will, credit cards, I see. Yes, credit cards, yes. Yes, you're correct, Alexander. So look for credit cards that have no annual fees. So there are simple credit cards. The more sophisticated credit card, let's say they give you points and you're allowed to, you know, travel, and they have an annual fee of, let's say, $95. If you really need that, then pay that. But if you don't, go for a simple credit card and that doesn't charge you. It's free just for the luxury for them of having your activity with the bank. And there are many no annual fees credit cards. So just look around and ask your bank. When you go to the bank, they tell you there are these 5 different options for credit cards.
I have one question. Can my credit go over limit?
Say that again. Ask me again.
Can my credit go over limit?
Can your credit go over limit? I think the question, I don't know who's asking the question, but I think the question is, if you have a credit card and you have $1,000, let's just say, and you go and buy, I don't know, a TV, and the TV is 1,100, and you go 100 over the approved credit limit, some credit cards charge you a fee for going over the limit. So make sure that your credit card doesn't charge you $35 for exceeding that.
I would like to ask a personal question myself. Like I have let's just say I have a credit of $1,000 and I use 80% of that credit, but I pay in full quickly. Would that increase my credit score quicker, or does it stay at the same credit card increase?
Remember what? Good, really good question. Really good question. Remember when I show you the gear, like the pizza, and the pizza had the 5 elements, and one of the elements is paying on time, which in this case you hit that, and the other one is amount of credit use. So with that behavior, you improve 2 of the 5 pillars of your credit. So the one that you buy and pay, and then when you pay, you have all that availability again. So you will improve 2 of the 5 elements. So that will, in the long run, will improve your credit score. Patience, it doesn't change in 1 month though.
2 birds in 1 stone still.
Hmm?
2 birds in 1 stone.
Yeah, yes, that's super.
Also, one question from me. When looking to sign up to a new credit card, what red flags we should avoid? Like if a credit card offers me something, I should avoid it at all costs. Is there anything that we should avoid?
If you know that you're getting the credit card and you know that you don't have a job, you don't have money, you don't have how to pay it, stop it. Unless your life depends on it, right? There are moments in life that that you lost your job and you're fighting, you're looking for another one, right? But what I don't want to see is people getting out of college and receiving like 10 promotions of credit cards and accepting all of them, going out, doing what we do when we're in college, and then suddenly you wake up one day and you have $15,000 in credit card debt for things that you don't even remember that you bought. So that is a red flag if you don't have it. And the other one, if you are at the beginning of the journey, just don't take these fancy credit cards there are credit cards that have $200 monthly fee, yearly fees, so you can access, like the VIP lounge, and like you don't need that now.
Would that be all the questions from our audience?
I see another question from Alexander in the chat. It says, do you gain credit score just from being an authorized user on an account? Yeah, you get, yes, you part of the behavior. If you are an authorized user and a person has good credit history, then yes, part of it comes to, to you. But make sure that the person has good credit history because it goes both ways.
So would that be all our questions for today? Okay. So we will conclude the presentation as I've been told. Before we conclude it though, do y'all remember that 1 hour complimentary consultation giveaway? Well, that's about that time. So we were about to do the wheel spin to see who would be our lucky, winner, okay? Are y'all ready? Remember, in order to receive the prize, you gotta have your cameras on, okay? If not, you ain't gonna receive it.
So I want to see everyone.
Yes. Yes, you wanna get the 1 hour free consultation? Remember, it's free. Turn on your cameras, doesn't cost much.
And it's with me.
So that would be it. So Ms. Barra, please take it away.
Woo.
Winner is Grace Patterson. Grace Patterson, are you in the audience right now?
Grace, are you somewhere here?
Are you here, Grace? Can you text or turn on your microphone?
While we wait for that, I just want you to know that it can be in any topics that relates to finance. It can be obviously on credit. It can be, the consultation can be how to start a business. We can talk about budgets and forecasts. So any area that has to do with money, I welcome the conversation.
Okay. So if Grace, I hope Grace, you do come in. And if you do, can you please be on standby? So Ms. Barra would send a contact order to you so you can claim the prize as well. So
the other thing I forgot to say is we can do the consultation in English or en español. Yo soy de Ecuador, así que hablo perfecto español. So we can do either or.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sanders. So before everybody goes, I would like to mention that the registration is already open for Ms. Tanner's other presentation that's going to be taking place on September 30th about how to start your own business, 10 steps to start your own business. So if you're interested, you're already allowed to register by today for the meeting in the 30th. So thank you, Ms. Tanner, for your time and your patience in this wonderful presentation. I did learn a lot myself. So I'm very thankful that you joined us here today. As well, thank you very much. We will conclude our virtual speaker series. So everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye, Ms. Tanner. Thank you.
Thank you.